Kendall Brown came out of high school as a 5-star recruit and the number 2 ranked small forward nationally behind just Caleb Houston. Brown had a myriad of offers to choose from but ultimately committed to Baylor in July of 2020. He likely felt pretty good about that decision as he watched the Bears win the national championship game last April. And he joined the team for the 2021-2022 season to help defend their title. Kendall Brown put up modest stats while starting every game for Baylor's run into the second round of the NCAA tournament before being upset in OT by the 8th-seeded North Carolina Tar Heels. But despite the low production from a stats perspective, Brown will still likely be a lottery pick in the 2022 NBA draft. He showed off his incredible athleticism and flashed the potential to be an incredible two-way player. Brown will likely require some development, but a team in the late lottery will likely find his potential too enticing to pass on. Kendall Brown's biggest strength is that he is an explosive athlete. Brown is fast in the open floor and can leap very high to the point where it almost looks like he's going to hit his head on the rim sometimes. But in addition to that, he can just explode off the court. In addition to being fast, Brown is incredibly quick. He's the type of guy that gets to top speed in a single step. Once he gets a step on you in the open floor, he's gone. He also gets off the floor quickly when leaping. It almost seems to catch defenders off guard how quickly he can go from a standstill or running into dunking the ball. Brown's offensive game might not be very refined at this time, but once he's in the open floor, fans will be on the edge of their seats ready to see something amazing. Another strength for Brown is his defensive versatility. Brown isn't perfect as a defender. He can get pushed around by larger players and is a bit foul prone, but he is incredibly versatile and is an engaged defender. With his quickness and speed, Brown can easily hang with guards out on the perimeter, and at 6'8" with a 6'11" wingspan, he can give those typically shorter guards some problems with getting good shots off. He's a bit skinny compared to other forwards, but he can hold his own with his ability to stay in front and should improve as he gains some strength. With his athleticism and wingspan, it's a bit surprising that Brown didn't pick up more blocks and steals in college. But at Baylor, he was mostly tasked with defending out on the perimeter, so there weren't as many opportunities as if he was defending bigger players down low. Brown will need some time to develop as a defender, but he should give NBA coaches a versatile option from the start. One weakness for Brown is shooting. Brown's shooting numbers weren't terrible. He made 34% of his threes and 69% of his free throws. But there are a few red flags with his shot right now. He will usually only take a 3 if he's wide open, and that's because his shot isn't very quick. He takes a long time to load up and get into his motion. When he's forced to speed it up, it often ends up being a miss. He can also struggle with his shot getting a bit flat at times, especially with his free throws. This is why we see an unusual number of his free throws rim out. One bright side is Brown doesn't have a ton of bad misses. He has solid touch and isn't missing wildly to the left or right a lot. He just needs to work on getting some more arc on his shot and getting shot ready more quickly. A good NBA shooting coach should be able to help with these issues, but it might take some time for Brown to really reach his ceiling as a shooter. Another weakness for Brown is scoring in the half court. In transition, Brown is an absolute terror. He's quick, fast, and can get on top of the rim in a blink. But Brown struggles right now to score in the flow of a half court offense. Brown has a good but not great handle. He can occasionally break down a defender and get to the basket, but he mostly struggles to create for himself in this way. And as mentioned earlier, he isn't anything special as a shooter, so defenses can kind of just leave him alone out there without having to worry he's going to burn them. There's just too many stretches where Brown is able to be made invisible on the offensive end of the floor. Brown has potential as an offensive player, and he will show it in flashes, but it's going to be a while before Brown becomes a real contributor on the offensive end of the floor. This first clip displays some of Brown's explosive athleticism. The play starts with literally the opening tip. Brown collects the tip just inside half court and sees a lane to the basket. Brown hits top speed off his first step, takes 2 dribbles, and is already dunking the ball before Oregon knew it hit them. Brown may have some struggles in the half court, but in the open floor he is a blur and a dunk waiting to happen. Brown should be the type of player that makes some incredible athletic plays earlier in his NBA career, even as he learns a more refined offensive approach. This next clip shows off Brown's defensive versatility. The play starts with Brown getting put into a pick and roll as a defender. His man comes up to set the screen, he and his teammate deftly switch the action as defenders. Brown blitzes and flusters the ball handler into picking up the ball, and then Brown knocks it away and starts the transition opportunity the other way. While the takeaway in this situation won't happen every time, this play shows that Brown is comfortable switching across multiple positions on defense, especially on the perimeter. This will be a useful skill for Brown to have in the NBA. This final clip gives us a look at how Brown can struggle as a shooter. The play begins with Brown spotting up in the corner. The kickout pass comes out to him and a defender turns to face him but leaves plenty of space. Brown slowly sets and decides to fire up a 3, which he misses. To be a consistent threat as a shooter, Brown will have to be able to get shot ready more quickly. I think it's fair to assume Brown won't be much of a threat as a shooter to start his career in the NBA, but as his career goes along, he hopefully will be able to get his shot off more quickly and become a more legitimate shooting threat. Kendall Brown is quite possibly one of the best pure athletes in this draft. This makes him an incredibly exciting prospect and will likely be a big reason he is selected in the lottery of the 2022 NBA draft. He's also one of the more raw lottery prospects that we have in this draft. He has the tools with the athleticism, the size, and the quickness, but right now he just hasn't put them all together and turned them into production on the court. The team that drafts Brown is getting a prospect with a ton of upside, but they have to be aware that the first part of his career will likely not involve a lot of sustained excellence, rather flashes of his ability sandwiched between stretches where he struggles. At his best, Brown could be a versatile defender that contributes some scoring punch. I don't see him as a guy that will be a star. If he were really to develop his ability to score in the half court off the dribble and become a more advanced shooter, he could have some incredible upside. But I think he'll likely start as a bench player early in his career and work his way into a starting role as he refines his offensive game. My NBA comp for Kendall Brown is Miles Bridges. Bridges started his career as a raw athlete that didn't put up much for numbers. But now in his fourth season, Bridges is a regular starter and is averaging 20 points per game as both his shot and ability to create in the half court have progressed. This seems like a realistic path for Brown to follow.